Hello, patrons, and welcome to episode 2 of Minis and Movies, formerly known as Co-Host Corner. I am your host, John Spencer, and tonight I'll be talking some more about some Malifuax Slow Grow League, since I was playing in two at once, one I was kind of running. A little upcoming info on Malifuax Slow Grow League I'm going to be running actually in a store as an actual thing. And then in the movie section, I'm going to be up to part 9 of the Avengers Initiative, which is Captain America the Winter Soldier. So, hey, Ron. All right. Well, about the Malifaux Silver League, it's been going pretty well. I didn't end up finishing in any big place in the one down at Third Eye Games, but considering I haven't painted a model in what amounts to about 6 months and haven't had a chance to really get a new painting area set up or anything like that, it's understandable. I did have a heck of a time. I believe the last game I told you about was week 4 of 5, since there were 5 weeks in September. He added an extra week in there, a different points value, where I played against a young lady and didn't cheat the entire game and still managed to pull off a win. This week, or that week, the next week when I came in, Interlight, our henchman, paired me up against a guy who sort of come back out, who was a experienced and somewhat competitive bent player who was getting back in, since he could just jump in at 50 points. I just played for the league and he played not for the league. I literally went down the list and did just about everything I could possibly do to get points. Gave him half my soul stones, let him choose my schemes, the whole shebang. I also did not cheat the entire game. He was playing Von Schill, who I'm playing in the other Slow Grow League, and brought a free core heavy crew. In fact, by heavy I mean that's all he brought was free core. He had the strong arm suit, which is, you know, cool power armor, mini Iron Man type of guy. Lazarus, giant robot with an automatic grenade launcher. More on him later, since I've been having fun with him. The steam trunk, which is Von Schill's totem. It's pretty cool. He also brought a free core librarian and a free core trapper, the sniper. He also brought Johan, because Johan's pretty cool and he needs someone else. The long and short of this is I brought a crew to not have any minions at all, so I brought 5 big models. I had Misaki, with my standard outlay of recalled training for extra flips, because it's bullshit. On Wings of Air, which lets me get extra pushes and push other people around, which is cool. And then I added for the third one her new one. I don't remember the name of it, but it lets me set aside soul stones to get healing, but still technically have them available to me. It's a good way to take all those soul stones I have left and get some use out of them when I'm not spending soul stones, like this game. I had 2 henchmen. I had Ototo, who is her buddy, giant guy with a Tetsubo, who's really big and mean and kills stuff pretty well. Then my second one was Fuhatsu, who is a giant, mentally challenged individual with a minigun and some peasants with him to help him stay standing and keep his pants up. Yeah, he was a great warrior who unfortunately had some bad times on the battlefield, and now he's a bit of a moron, and, you know, it happens, and it's not supposed to be funny. I tried to make light and stuff like that, but I mean it in all good humor for the game. But he's got a giant minigun, generally considered to be a bad model, but I brought him also. And then my last 2 models were Yin, the Panaglian, big head with entrails, fly around, choke people to death, and then the Lone Swordsman. We played Protect the Stash as the strategy, and my 2 schemes were, I forget what it's called. Basically, every turn you can remove 2 scheme markers from the table and score a point. But you can't have an enemy within distance of them, and you can't have another scheme marker too close. A lot of extra stuff there. And then the other one he gave me was Assassinate. Knowing how hard it is to kill Von Schill, I did not bother trying to kill Von Schill. He ended up with the exact same pool. He said he actually gave me the same schemes to keep it easy for him. Long and short of it is I started off getting a shooting duel between Fuhatsu in cover versus pretty much the majority of his force, aside from the Trapper and the Librarian. Actually, Johan sort of bumped into the building too, but he doesn't have a gun, so he's not good in the shooting duel. The Trapper started shooting at Misaki, not doing very well because she's she's higher defense than he is offense, and then continued firing at the Lone Swordsman, who gives zero fucks about his shooting because he's bulletproof 3, which means he takes 3 less damage. So he's got to get up to. He's got a crit strike with moderate damage. He doesn't have a crit strike. I'm thinking of the one I take, the Katakana Sniper. So he literally has to get to severe damage, which is difficult against a guy with higher defense, to actually get more than 1 point through. He focus fired using the new one of Von Chill's new upgrades called Oath of the Free Corps to basically let you get an upgrade that I'd like to take called Oath Keeper, which when you die you get to put down a ski marker, which is kind of cool. But then also you can discard it to get fast. And now with the Free Corps, it gives him double duty. He lets him spend an action to put it on a model, a Free Corps model, and then also lets any model with it shooting at someone that he's hit gets a plus to the attack and damage flip, which is pretty cool. So he was running around with that and did a good job of killing Yin in turn 2 when the engagement started. But then I had Ototo run in the front while Misaki was coming around the back and just jam him in place while Fuhatsu ambled up the board near the stash to hold it and started throwing down some ski markers while the Lone Swordsman did the same thing on the other side. And I basically scored all 4 points for the strategy and 3 points for the scheme. He did end up killing Misaki and Ototo. And he had all 3 points from the other scheme as well. So he ended up getting 6 points to my 7, so I ended up with a victory. And I managed to not kill a single of his models, which is worth extra points in the league game, which was cool. So that was a fun game, a good way to end the league on a high note, good fun. And made me realize that not listen to other people who say people are not good, because Ototo was actually Fuhatsu was actually pretty fun. He's good stand and fire. He gets lots of plus flips, so he can stand and fire against people and cover and not worry about it too much. And he's so resilient, my opponent did not even bother trying to think about killing him. So super cool there. I think if I played another one seriously, I would like to have my painting area up to get some models painted and seriously compete. Though, honestly, just playing games for fun is good enough in a slow grow format. I'm hoping actually we get to do he's talking about doing a campaign next, which would be super awesome because I dig campaigns and they have a pretty good campaign system if we can get the same people there consistently, which I think we can. We've been pretty good. So on to my league I'm running at Games and Stuff, my local store. We're actually just about done. We technically have the rest of this week and one more week go, but I think I'm going to call it because lots of stuff going on. We're at 50 points, which means we're just playing regular games, and the objective has been met. Since all prizes are provided by me, I can call it whatever the hell I want, and probably about now. So I think I left off, and I talked about week 1 and 2, because that takes about the same time, because we're doing 2 weeks per week, just because I wanted everyone to have a chance to play, because we're kind of inconsistent. And it's been a good time. In week 3, still playing Von Schill, I had the first game I tried against a guy I let in against my better judgment, who was new, and he's playing a very complicated caster, and very complicated master, and not very experienced in the game. So the game was a bit of a slog, but I was fine. I'm like, I'm gonna go through this game. I'm not gonna cheat, get those points. I'm not gonna play with any minions. So I had a bunch of dudes. I learned a lot about it because the whole idea was, since I'm not cheating, I'm gonna take an upgrade called I Pay Better on my master, which lets me discard cards from my hand to get focus, which is +1 to the hit and damage flip, which is really good. So I had that. I only worked on mercenary models, so I had a little scornergy as I took a non-mercenary and part of my crew. I also took a lot of people who had rapid fire in order to maximize my ability to get rid of cards in my hand, since they weren't doing me any freaking good anyways. Might as well just get them out there. And actually, it was a reasonably close game that he did not win by a lot because I was smoking his dudes. But, good to see how someone else plays. I can kind of see his weaknesses, and when we play bigger games, what he needs to focus on. So that was cool. Then I followed up a game against Not Brushhead Dave, and he's still playing Molly, the little girl ex-reporter Now we had an interesting game, but my plethora of guns and early lucky flips with a slightly different crew, same basic overlay, just instead of the all the henchmen, I had a wide variety of people, and I managed to get my librarian just far enough forward to explode one of his punk zombies into pieces. And at 30 points, losing a 7-point model early is difficult to come back from. So that game went kind of sideways for him. And since then I had a bunch of games. I can't really remember all of them. I'll give some highlights because the next week I'd gotten my upgrades and all for Von Schill from the new book. And in fact, those last two games I may have recounted before. If I did, I apologize. It's been a little bit of time since I have recorded and do not remember where I left off. But anyways, got Von Schill's upgrades in. So I decided to try out the same one that the gentleman was playing, the Oath of the Free Corps, and been going through a couple different versions of it. Been starting off, I put Oathkeeper on a bunch of different enforcers or henchmen and get them to the board early and discard it to give them fast and all, so I can start cycling it. And then I made sure I have Lazarus in the crew because holy moly. My first game I didn't. I just had a free corpsman and Von Schill and a free corps trapper who's never near Von Schill because he got from the shadows. He deploys wherever the hell he wants to cycle to, and that wasn't as good because sure, fast on a free corpsman is not bad. It's not great, and I really have yet to have anyone put down a target that is big enough to require me to focus fire with Von Schill and other people. I mean, it had to be a master, and most people are really careful with their masters and don't put them out where I can just start gunning them down because I have a penchant for playing guns in many, many games. But still, cycling that has been very good. Fast at times has been great. Being able to have my guy sit there and going, in one game against Not Brushhead Dave, playing Mali, he really did a number on my free corps trapper, and he was very much in danger of dying with one wound left. So I put Oathkeeper on him, and he just wandered to a point where if he died and dropped the scheme marker, it would be great. He did not end up dying, but then that just meant I was able to use it to make him fast and cycle it over somewhere else because he'd dropped the scheme marker that I wanted anyways at that point, was scoring all I could. So that was good. I've played a bunch of new models. Lazarus I hadn't played in this edition. He's super cool. Free Corps heavy armor. Learned a lot of stuff. One of the Reser Masters, Riva, is pretty crazy as she can melee attack you at range 3 through corpse markers. So you have to be careful not to cluster up too much and not to let her put corpse markers nearby or stuff. So that was an interesting tactic that seemed like absolute horseshit until you realized, oh no, this is what she does. It's all she can do. It's rich all of her stuff. It's also good to remember that everyone's got their bullshit. It's just how the bullshit falls. That game I was particularly salty also because my flips were horrific. I had like 3 turns of just lower than my opponent or just low enough to not do anything, which was terrible. And if there's a bad side, it's like having a bad dice game. The only difference is with the hand to cheat, you can usually get something through. But I got through it. It was pretty cool. And then I guess the most recent games, Norin brought out Sonya Crid, who Mistress of Explosions and Fire, with just an absolute ton of dudes. He had 4 guild hounds, and they're cheap and need to be in pairs in order to drop ski markers. But man, that's 4 models left to kill. He had 2 guilds guardsmen, 2 Ostringers, and 2 witchling handlers. Holy crap, it was a bunch of dudes. And I had merely brought Von Schill with Ashes and Dust, who's supposed to be bullshit, and pretty much is. Then my standard crutch of Big Jake. I always bring him with Oathkeeper because it's really cool to have Oathkeeper on him. He's got kind of limited range and fast. Gets him in position lots of times. I brought Johann because Johann's cool. I brought the Hodgepodge Effigy because he's 4 points and pretty decent for the points. And then I also brought a Bandito because Banditos are good, and a Free Corps Trapper. And man, being outnumbered like that, because I got 8 models, and he's got, what was that, 4, 8, 10, 11 or so? So 3.3 model activation advantage is pretty crazy. It means that he can activate the key models he needs to whenever he wants. But I feel that his models were just squishy enough that I was able to get through it. The Free Core Trapper killed a dog pretty easily. I think the Bandito followed up and killed another dog. And then on the other side, the Ashes and Dust, who was looking super squishy and taking a ton of damage, got in on his Witchling Handler over there, killed it, and I had the cars to turn it into a Abomination, which isn't a great model, but that Abomination got to be placed in base, which was just close enough for it to be in melee with an Austringer, meaning it had to waste an action to get out of a melee if it wanted to shoot, which was cool. It also helped offset the activation advantage. So, I took one model that he hadn't activated away and added a model that I hadn't activated, so that was pretty good. Overall, it turned out pretty well. It ended up scoring 9-1 because he wasn't able to get any of his other schemes off because, he got the scheme counters out there early, but the problem with early is you can walk in base and just remove them by spending an action. So he wasn't able to maintain. He wasn't able to keep my guys off too much. At one point, I just rammed Von Schill down his throat. I was playing Von Schill this time with his new upgrade, which gives him a cybernetic arm that has a great... it attacks with a 7 rather than a 6 like his knife, which is cool because it means it's much more accurate against those things with high defense. It also has a trigger called Pull that he auto gets, where he can place someone within 6 inches. He's basically throwing him with his cyber arm. It also gives him a cool ability to attack multiple targets when he charges. Normally you have to attack both the same target, so that you attack one on each, if you want to. And then he also gets the ability to shoot people who move or place nearby, which I didn't get to use, but hey, it's a bonus on top. And with that, I also brought the Survivability package, which is Survivalist, which gives him a bonus on healing flips. Speaking, you think I've been drinking for a while. And the shirt that comes off, which makes everyone take a horror duel when I take the shirt off, and gives him a healing flip. So it's a little combo. Survivalist also gives him hard to kill, means you can't get him below 1 wound without first getting into 1. So if you do 20 damage and I got 2 wounds left, I take 1, and then you got to hit me again. So it's very cool, and really hard to kill him with that combo and some soul stones. So I just rammed him down the throat and just started punching people to death. Actually, the turn I did that, he didn't do very well. I didn't think I hurt somebody a little bit, but was just missing because I had a bad hand. I had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. So if your 5 card straight was pretty good, but not good with a high card 7. But luckily also Big Jake used his ability to consult the ancestors, where he looks at the top 2 cards of my deck and put them back on top of my deck or in the discard pile in any order. So I was able to put a red Joker on top, get into one of his guild guards who have huge defense in pairs. They have defense 6, which is good. Guarantee a hit since I'm attacking with a 6, and worst case, he's going to get a red Joker also, and then we're even and I get a double negative flip. And so I killed him and managed to get just enough on the second one to kill the second guy. So yeah, that was cool. Kept it going that turn since one of the objectives was to kill 2 people a turn, which is difficult. But when you bring so many models, I told him I really like the list, but when you get points for killing 2 models a turn and you brought like 12 models, then they're all kind of squishy. That's a problem. So overall, that went in my favor because of my ability to tank and a little bit of luck. Plus the Ashes and Dust, basically, when you kill it, it splits into the Ashen Core, which places in base with the model, and then a Dust Cloud, which places on the board edge, at least 6 inches away from their deployment zone, and then can move in, hit the Ashen Core. If it gets in base, does a 0 ability. You sacrifice it, the Ashen Core gets 1 more armor, and if you don't kill at the end of the turn, it becomes an Ashes and Dust again. So yeah, that wasn't good at all for him. So the 2 points he scored were for killing the Ashes and Dust, because that's count as being dead. You just get new models, and then killing the Abomination I created. Overall, it was fun. I've been having a lot of fun playing Malifaux. I very much enjoy it. I've been winning. I've been killing a lot of guys, but I've also been winning a lot of games on by strategy and scheme. In fact, Interlight and I had a good game a week ago of. He hates it that I just put my crew. I make my crew without looking at any of the objectives. I don't care, and he hates it because he's like, you know, you're allowed to look at your crew. That's the order you do it. You go, I am playing a faction. You flip your schemes and strategies and all, and then you choose what models you're playing in that faction. It's to save some bad matchups, but I just don't care. I want to bring sometimes what I want to bring. I'm going to play those models to the absolute best of my ability, as evidenced by my ability to just fucking not care and still be competitive in every single one of those games. In fact, that game was really close. He managed to squeak by by 1 point by a lucky play. It was a good play on his part. And just the weird happenstance of where I moved people made it impossible for me to tie it up. I tied it up, and then if it gone an extra turn, either way, if it gone an extra turn, I would have won the game because I'd have been able to outscore him or tie it up again. Not been able to outscore him, I'd get 1 point from another one. So it is what it is. It was a good time. What are you gonna do? Been enjoying it a lot, so much that I'm going to apply to be a henchman myself as soon as I get my 2-player starter box, just coming in. And then I'm going to run before that even happens, I'm going to run a slow grow league, an actual slow grow league for everyone at Games and Stuff this next month coming up. So you'll hear some tales of that. I'll be playing just whatever I want. Probably actually for Congo the Drummergund, I will be playing Parker Burroughs because he wanted to see Parker Burroughs, and I need some bases first, but they're on the way, and I'll get him together and play him a little bit. He seems like he'll be fun and complicated. So there you go. There's a Malifaux / slow grow Malifaux report. Next time, I'll talk about something else. I'm certain, maybe a little bit of Malifaux. Maybe I'll spread out between things. Not gonna be a lot of War Machine talk for a little bit, as I'm waiting for things to calm down, theme lists to get out, things to solidify. Just because I was feeling a little burnout. But I'm starting to feel the itch again. Might break out the circle. I think I need to play something different than cool that I like. That's in the power curve. Minions were cool, but they're not in the power curve, so I think they frustrate me for that. What are you gonna do? But that's it for miniatures. On to movies. Ron. All right, movie time. I've watched a ton of movies recently. I'm not going to go into any of them. I might start adding a feature here where I talk about movie night, where I have with Trolton Heston, where I show him old movies usually in a theme. In fact, we'll talk about it a little bit here just because it is cool, so that he can see things. And this all started because he made me watch Batman vs Superman when it was the old podcast, Painting with Not John. And then he asked me one time in person, like, hey, if I buy the Blu-ray unrated version, extended version of Batman vs Superman and come over and bring you alcohol too, will you watch it? To which any sane host says, of course, yes, I'll watch it. You know, you want to see it, whatever, it's cool. So it was him, his wife, me, and Norin, it's our standard crew. And we got through it all. That's where I learned it was strictly a better version of the movie. We also that time watched Flash Gordon because we needed some time till Norin showed up. And then we decided to make it like a semi thing. The second time I wanted to show him standard 80s action movie fare. But I wanted to show him the good and the bad. So we watched American Ninja and Commando. He enjoyed Commando more. We made fun of American Ninja a lot more, but it was still fun for that. And that's sort of the theme we're going for, a bad movie and a good movie. Though sometimes it might be hard to tell. The next time, which was actually this past Sunday, when I was off, we did fantasy movies. Originally, we were trying to pair Conan with something because he hadn't seen Conan. So it was Conan and something, and we decided to pair Conan. Originally, we were going to do Conan and Conan the Destroyer, but then you go watch the bad movie second. Then Conan with Beastmaster seemed like a great combo. But then we found out that he likes He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, so we had it done. It was Conan the Barbarian and Masters of the Universe, which I went out and purchased on Blu-ray for him so his disappointment could be as crystal clear as possible. And that was a fun time. He obviously we made fun of Master Universe a lot. That movie is not good by any stretch, but it's not an absolute shit show or anything. It's entirely watchable. And then Conan is aged kind of well overall, but very weirdly paced, but very fun. So we're doing that. I might talk about that from time to time. The next time we do this, we're going to watch. He's never seen a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, so we're going to watch Bloodsport, and then I'm going to pair it with Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon. You can make your own choice as to which the good and bad movie is. But anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. That was a little aside. We're here to talk about Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Where to start? My notes on this just say gush, because that movie is great. Respectfully to anyone who does not think it's the best Marvel movie, I will give you a pass if you say Avengers is the best Marvel movie. If you do not think it's the best for the best Avengers, you are unfortunately incorrect, and I apologize that your opinion is incorrect, but in this case it is. It is absolutely great combination of spy thriller and action, good character piece. The Russo brothers do a great job of just bringing together Captain America and a bunch of people and still making it a Captain America story, because the whole Winter Soldier thing is part Captain America. It's sure it's Bucky and it's him and Bucky, but it's a Captain America story and it's great. Man, I could gush forever, but I don't need to. Let's get to the nitty gritty. Rewatchability is 0 shots of Kraken. I could fucking go downstairs and watch it right now if my roommate wasn't using the TV. It is great. You can rewatch it. I imagine eventually it might, but this last time we were watching it, I thought it was better than the times before, as I'm sitting there just looking at details and seeing all the cool stuff they did. So definitely 0 shots of Kraken. Nostalgia. Good lord, 0 shots of Kraken. It's every bit as good as I remember. It's not overrated. It's not overhyped. It is the best Marvel movie. It's not necessarily as fun, but they still get those fun moments in, which is cool. I love how they managed to do that, even in a legitimately serious spy thriller type movie. Storyline, 0 shots of Kraken. This movie set the standard. Everything that happens in it has ramifications later on. It involves characters from other movies. It involves the whole Marvel universe. The only thing people can say is like, oh, why didn't he call on the rest of the Avengers? He really didn't have time, and who's going to believe, even the Avengers, are not necessarily going to believe Captain America over S.H.I.E.L.D. Tony Stark might, but it's a little weird thing, and he's not going to involve them because he doesn't even know how far it goes. There's really no opportunity. Post-credits scene. Set up for Avengers 2. It's pretty solid. I give it 2 shots of Kraken. It's not groundbreaking. It wasn't, oh my god, I have to see Avengers 2 right now, any more than I already did. It did not get me any more excited for seeing Avengers 2, Avengers Age of Ultron, than I was at the time I saw it. So, it was pretty good. 2 shots of Kraken. Stan Lee cameo. It was solid. I give it, you get 2 shots of Kraken. It's like, oh, that's where he got the costume from the museum. Cool. Let's put Stan Lee in here. Okay, cool. It's fine. Soundtrack. Soundtrack is very interesting because while I like the soundtrack and the times when you stop and listen and notice it, it's very good. It puts you in the correct mood. It is not a bombastic soundtrack. There's not much of the Imperial March. There's not even Captain America March in there. The themes are good and solid, very, very workmanlike, but there's nothing bombastic. None of them stand out in my head and provoke an emotional response like other movies. Like having just watched The Wrath of Khan recently in a theater because it was on Fathom events. There are parts of the soundtrack that provoke an emotional response from me. Avengers, the first Avengers movie, there are parts of that provoke an emotional response from me. This, not so much, but I think what it is they're trying to keep it that way. I think they realize it's so hard to compete with the iconic soundtrack things that they've used, so many times, that why bother? We're just going to keep it. There are hints of other soundtracks. You hear hints of the Captain America March, which is good. But overall, it's solid. I give it a 2.5 shots of Kraken. 1 shot. 5 shots of Kraken, because they fucking stopped doing it because they were doing their own TV series. Fuck you, Marvel. It's your biggest mistake you've ever made because those 1 shots were great. But we got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which first season was decent, second season was good, and I have not finished the third season yet. It was mediocre so far. Uh, Not good enough for me to go back and finish watching it. So there you go. Overall, good lord, did you think I was going to rate this movie anything less than 0 Shot to Kraken? Because if so, you were crazy. I love this movie. I am so glad that the Captain America movies are amongst the best Marvel movies because he was always one of my favorites growing up. Though honestly, the whole Avengers thing, being Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America being the big ones getting lots of movies, those were three of my big guys growing up. Early on, it was Cap and Iron Man with a little bit of X-Men thrown in there. Later on, got some Thor and Spider-Man in. The new Spider-Man was great too. I'm going to count it. I'm going to watch that at the end of this. That'll be the one. I'm saying it's going to be the one I finish on, but it probably won't be the one I finish on because based on how slowly I'm fucking doing these, Thor will be out by then and might even be out on some watchable format by then. But we'll see. Again, overall, 0 Shots of Kraken. It's great. Next time, Guardians of the Galaxy 1. Seems cool. I'm sure I'm going to love it. I've seen it. I know I love it. I know my ratings are going to be weirder than you guys think because I'm doing just that scale with just my overall rating at the end. But, hey. We will see what my new thoughts are of it. I haven't actually watched it in a while preparing for this. There's been a couple times I've been like, oh, I should watch Guardians. Like, no. I've got to do it for the Avengers Initiative soon. Hold off. And I have. So, there you go. Ron. That does it for another episode, guys. I do thank you, patrons, for continuing to support us as we move from Painting with John to More Than Dice, and I move from the Co-host Corner to Minis and Movies. I was going to say movies and minis, but it's the other way around. We do definitely appreciate it. It helps us, and helps us keep everything going. If you guys want to reach me with any ideas or comments or criticism, Twitter's the absolute best. I don't tweet too often, but I do pay attention to what's going on there, and that is at John O. Spencer. And if you want to hit me up on Facebook, I am John Oakland Spencer. And I forget what email I gave you guys last time, but fuck it, you guys can have one of my regular email addresses. If you want to contact me by email, it is johnoaklandspencer@yahoo.com. Throw me some emails, throw me some ideas. Always happy to hear them. I'll probably throw some some Twitter requests for ideas soon. Because God, obviously I need to learn how to speak or drink less. It's almost like I've been drinking for 3 hours since I got home from work. That's crazy because it was a good day. But anyways, if you guys have any ideas, hit me up with them. I'm always happy to throw some stuff in here, especially since I'm talking about all sorts of miniature games and everything I'm playing and interested in. Maybe some Dark Age next time. We'll see. Maybe I'll get some stuff in. It's kind of hard to get stuff right now. Maybe the first wave of Mark II Relic Knights will hit. Maybe I'll have some more 40k stuff to talk about since I have gotten a little bit of that stuff in here. Who knows? In any case, thank you again for listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and hope to see you next time. Until then, Ron!